bring you everything from breaking news.
President must know that this is a bad time for our nation. We must look for foreign support to save this nation.
World news, sport, music,
Girl, I just want me with you like guys.
and many more. To listen to our programs, follow us live on all our social media platforms on Facebook at Aloore Radio, Twitter and Instagram at Aloore Radio. You can also subscribe on our YouTube page on Aloore Radio. Make sure you click on the notification bell so you know when we are live. This is Aloore Radio, the voice of Oyo State.
A wonderful morning to you out there. Thank God it's Friday. You're welcome to Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. We are transmitting from GSM Studio at the Ministry of Information and Orientation, Secretariat Agodi, Ibadan. My name is Olukemi Omotosho. I have with me two Nigerian dailies, The Punch and The Nigerian Tribune. You can like and share on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Aloore Radio. On YouTube, just download Aloore Radio. Our website remains www.alooreradio.com. You can call in on 09039 853731. 09039 853731. Let me quickly go to the front page of the Punch newspaper. The first story I'm going to take, the headline says, NNPCL ends fuel importation December 2024. Projects 4.5 trillion naira revenue, with the rider that says fuel importation, shipping costs, port levies will stop, says Ipman, NNPCL boss. And Kyari insists on December deadline for Port Harcourt refineries repairs. Speaker demands privatization. These and many more can be found on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Also, I have the pictorial of NAF decoration of 12 combat pilots, and they vowed tough time for terrorists. The story can be grabbed from page 41 of the Punch newspaper. I also have federal government states plan 18 million agric job, $1.5 billion funds. That story can be found on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, and it's coming from Shetima. Also on page 8, I have government to fish out prison warders aiding Boko Haram. Also on page 41 of the Punch newspaper, I have Tinubu assents bill on local military equipment production. And I have from the judiciary, Johnson Osun chapter on collision course over anti-CJ protest. The story can be found on page 40 of the Punch newspaper, and this sad one is coming from page 5. Ondo police arrest housemaid son over killing of boss. The story, of course, is on page 5 of the Punch newspaper. And cash crunch worsens, food spending drops by 3 trillion naira. That report is coming from page 34 of the Punch newspaper. Let me quickly go to the front page of the Nigerian Tribune for headlines. I have states FCT owes federal government 1.7 trillion naira in budget support facility, with the rider that says NEC rejects setting up of National Flood Management Council. The details of that story can be found on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. And of course, I have Panic over recovery of 88.6 billion naira debt as controversy rages over discourse operating license expiry date. That story can be found on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. An appeal court judgment. PDP government backs judiciary. Believe party will get justice at Supreme Court. The story can be found on page 2. And still on the Nigerian Tribune, I have Lagos impounds 15 petroleum tankers for parking on Port Access Road. That is coming from page 26. And on page 27 of the Nigerian Tribune, Kogi freezes state local government accounts. And on page 23, appeal court reverses tribunal judgment sacking Governor Sule, upholds Inuwa's re-election. And I have a marine and blue economy. Heads of critical agencies sign performance bond with Oyetola. The story can be found on page 22. And coming from page 28, Lalong receives certificate of return as senator-elect for Plateau South. And on page 7, Zenith Tech Fair concludes with fanfare. Finalists receive cash prizes. This and many more will you listen to. Please stay tuned as we go on a short break. We'll be back shortly.
Let us take you on a journey across continents as we bring you latest news, captivating stories, and diverse perspectives from around the globe. From breaking news headlines to fascinating features, discover the stories that shapes our society and the voices that demand to be heard. It's Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. Whether you're a native of Ibadan or a visitor, Aloore Radio brings you closer to the heart and soul of Oyo State and beyond. Aloore Radio, the online radio that amplifies the voice of Oyo State.
Welcome back to Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. Of course, you can like and share on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Aloore Radio. On YouTube, it is Aloore Radio, and our website remains www.alooreradio.com. The first story I'm going to take in details is from page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune, and it says, States FCT owes federal government 1.7 trillion naira in budget support facility. The National Executive Council (NEC) on Thursday put the amount being owed by the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) to the federal government from the budget support facility advance to them at 1.7 trillion naira. Former President Muhammadu Buhari had at various times approved a bridge facilities to help state governments to meet their financial obligations and pay back previous budget support facilities due for repayment. The matter was reviewed during a meeting of NEC presided over by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Presidential Villa in Abuja on Thursday, showing that each of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory has outstanding liability of 49.1 million naira. The budget support loan to states and the FCT was stopped in July 2023, and decision taken to set aside an amount from the Federation account to take care of the balance. NEC received financial updates which indicated that excess crude oil as of September was $473,754.57. Stabilization as at September 2023 was 37,559,000,000, as the current balance of national resource was 144.6. Meanwhile, the council had disclosed plans to channel about $1.5 billion in donor fund into 36 special agro-industrial processing zones across the nation. If you are interested in that story, you can turn to page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune for the details. State FCT owes federal government 1.7 trillion naira in budget support facility. And still coming from page 2, 15 years after, federal government inaugurates committee to review Public Procurement Act. The federal government has inaugurated the committee to review the Public Procurement Act 2007 in line with current economic realities in the country. Secretaries to the government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, in his inaugural speech, recalled that the Public Procurement Act 2007 was signed into law on June 4, 2007 by the late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua. He noted that the act provides the legal and institutional framework for the enjoyment of transparency, accountability, value for money, and efficiency in the procurement of works, goods, and services within the ministries, departments, and agencies. The committee has 1 month to complete the assignment. A statement by the Head Information SGF Office, Segun Umoisin, said. The Public Procurement Act 2023 established the National Council on Public Procurement and the Bureau of Public Procurement as the regulatory authorities responsible for the monitoring and oversight of public procurement, harmonizing the existing government policies and practice by regulating certain standards and developing the legal frameworks and professional capability for public procurement in Nigeria and for related matters. For more of that story, turn to page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. 15 years after, federal government inaugurates committee to review Public Procurement Act. And on judiciary, we remain confident in judiciary. PDP government's expectant justice at Supreme Court. The PDP Governors Forum has reiterated its confidence in the judiciary. The forum stated this at the end of its meeting held at the Tatari Ali House, Bauchi State Governor's Lodge, Asokoro, Abuja on Thursday. The PDP had suffered setbacks at the State Election Petition Tribunals and at the Appeal Court recently. Governors Caleb Mustafang and Dauda Lawal of Plateau and Zamfara State have had their elections upturned by the Appeal Court, and on Thursday in Abuja, the Appellant Court also upheld the election of Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa against the PDP candidate David Gadu. But the chairman of the forum and governor of Bauchi State, Senator Bala Mohammed, while addressing the media, described the judgment that affected the PDP governors as a temporary setback, while expressing hope in the judiciary to do justice to their case. If you are interested in that story, you can turn to page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune for details. We remain confident in judiciary. PDP governors expect justice at Supreme Court. With that, I'll go to page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune, and it says over 41,000 households companies benefited from BOI 5.3 billion naira COVID-19 economic recovery stimuli. That is coming from Olusi. The Bank of Industry, BOI, has disclosed that over 41,000 households and companies have benefited from its 5.3 billion naira COVID-19 action, recovery and economic stimulus (NG CARES) programs disbursed in 4 years. Speaking on Thursday at NG CARES stakeholders engagement workshop for states and partners in the for workshop at the states and partners, the managing director of BOI, Dr. Olasupo Olusi, said the initiative was expand access to livelihood support, food security services, grants for the poor and vulnerable households, as well as firms. The NG CARES program is anchored in 3 result areas with 11 disbursement linked indicators and options of selection by the state. For more of that story, turn to page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. Over 41,000 households, companies benefited from BOI 5.3 billion naira COVID-19 economic recovery stimulus. And still on page 6, I have federal government commences construction of 900 kVA power mini-grids project in FCT community. The federal government has commenced construction of 900 kWp capacity interconnect mini-grids project in Rauchi, a community under Kuje local government area of the capital territory of the Federal Capital Territory. It said the project is an outcome of a memorandum of understanding signed with the Korean Institute for Advancement of Technology (KIAT) to develop 4 mini-grids within the FCT. Speaking at the groundbreaking event on Thursday in Abuja, Minister of Power Chief Adebayo Adelabu said the mini-grids intervention cut across the benefiting community will energize 7,300 residential and commercial homes. He said, and I quote, "It is my distinct honor to celebrate a milestone that embodies the spirit of progress and international collaboration, the groundbreaking of 4 mini-grid projects through the generous support of the Korean government under official development assistance." If you are interested in that story, of course, you can turn to page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. Federal government commences construction of 900 kVA mini-grids project in FCT community. And I have on page 7, Lagos impounds 15 petroleum tankers for parking along Port Access Road. Operatives of Lagos State Traffic Management Authority (LASTMA) on Thursday during another strict enforcement operations impounded 15 petroleum tankers parked indiscriminately along Second Rainbow down to Mile 2 Bridge, Oshodi-Apapa Expressway. In a press statement released by the Director of Public Affairs and Enlightenment Department of LASTMA, Mr. Adebayo Taofik, the state confirmed that the enforcement operation was carried out on the directive of the Special Adviser to the Lagos State Government on Transportation, Honorable Shola Giwa. If you are interested in that story, of course, you can turn to page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. Lagos impounds 15 petroleum tankers for parking along Port Access Road. And coming from page 8, I have this story that says, panic over recovery of 88.6 billion naira debt as controversy rages over discuss operating license expiry date. Members of the House of Representatives on Thursday were taken aback over the repayment of the 88.68 billion naira loan granted by CBN to electricity distribution companies Discos, whose operating license expires in October 2023. According to the agreement signed with the Apex Bank and PMO, the Discos are to repay the loan within 120 months. The revelation came to the fore at the resumed investigative hearing held at the instance of the House Committee on Public Accounts, chaired by Honorable Bamidele Salam, PDP from Osun, who frowned on the poor performance of the contractors who assessed the fund. According to the document presented by the committee, from the total of 86.868 billion naira loan released by Central Bank of Nigeria, Abuja Electricity Discos Company got 7.5 billion, Benin Electricity Company got 13.29 billion, Eko 12.12 billion, and Enugu Electricity Distribution Company got 6.47 billion, and on it goes. If you are interested in that story, you can turn to page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. Panic over recovery of 88.6 billion naira debit as controversy rages over Discos operating license expiry date. And of course, still coming from page 8, I have HIV/AIDS. Rep probes $4 billion global fund facility, 62 billion naira FG intervention fund. The House of Representatives Committee on HIV/AIDS, Tuberculosis, Leprosy and Malaria has vowed to investigate the utilization and impact of the 62 billion naira intervention fund approved by the federal government. Chairman of the committee, Honorable Amobi Oga, who disclosed this in Abuja during a familiarization visit to the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, also unveiled plans to investigate the utilization of over $4 billion global fund facilities approved for Nigeria. If you're interested in the details of that story, you can turn to page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. HIV/AIDS, reps probes $4 billion global fund facility, 62 billion naira federal government intervention fund. And let me quickly go to page 12 of the Nigerian Tribune. Osun judiciary crisis. Johnson national body dissociates from protests. The national headquarters of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN, has dissociated itself from the ongoing unrest in the Osun State Judiciary, warning its members in Osun State to under no guise participate in any picketing, protest or job boycotting. If you are interested in that story, you can turn to page 12 of the Nigerian Tribune. Osun judiciary crisis. Johnson national body dissociates from the protests. And of course, let me quickly go to the page 2 of the Punch newspaper, and I have this one that says PCL ends fuel importation December 2024, projects 4.5 trillion naira revenue. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited on Thursday said it will end the importation of refined petroleum products by December 2024, as all the country's refineries will be operational by then. It's also projected that the national oil firm will grow its revenue to 4.5 trillion naira at the end of 2023, adding that the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt Refinery Company under NLPCL's management will be completed by December this year. The group chief officer of the NNPCL, Mele Kyari, disclosed this when he led officials of the company to a meeting with the speakers of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, where the lawmakers called for the privatization of Nigeria's refineries. For more of that story, you can turn to page 2 of the Punch newspaper. NNPCL ends fuel importation December 2024, projects 4.5 trillion naira revenue. And of course, I have this one coming from page 2 also. Federal government states plan 18 million agri jobs, $1.5 billion funds. The National Economic Council on Thursday announced plans to channel at least $1.52 billion donor fund into 36 special agro-industrial processing zones across the nation, aiming to create over 18.1 million jobs, including 100,000 farmers nationwide. If you're interested in that story, you can turn to page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Federal government states plan 18 million agri jobs, $1.5 billion in funds. And I'll quickly go to my last story for the day, coming from page 6 of the Punch newspaper, and it says, I beg your pardon, the story is coming from page 4. It says commuters urge repair of faulty circuitry. Commuters in Anambra and Delta states have revealed that unless something is done to fix the non-functional street lights along the second Niger Bridge, motorists and travelers coming into the southeast, especially at the UTAD approaches, may have difficulties driving through the bridge at night. It was reported that the bridge on Tuesday and Wednesday evening observed that the street lights right from the Asaba Delta State end of the road to Idimili, Anambra State, were not functional and rendered the full stretch of the 1.7-kilometer long bridge very dark and scary with very scanty vehicles. The finding of the correspondent also revealed that the street lights last functioned on the night of May 23rd, 2023, being the day the bridge was inaugurated. If you are interested in that story, you can turn to page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. Commuters urge repair of faulty second bridge of the Niger. And with that, I've come to the end of today's newspaper review on Aloore Radio. Or you can like and share on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Aloore Radio. On YouTube, it is at Aloore Radio, and our website remains www.alooreradio.com. You can call in on 09039 853731, 09039 Thank you for listening. I am Olukemi Omotosho. Do have a wonderful weekend.
Share, listen to Aloore Radio on Facebook.